Welcome to the Pastured Pig Podcast, where we share the successes and challenges of raising pigs on pasture. We talk to producers all over the country, from small homesteads to large commercial pasture operations. Whether you're new to pastured pigs or have been raising hogs for decades, we hope you hear new ideas and new perspectives on pasturing hogs. Here's your host, Troy McClung.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pastured Pig Podcast. Glad to be back. Kind of had a gap week there around the holidays, but still going to do 2 for July. That's the plan, is to do 2 a month, and we're still clicking along that way. I hope everyone that's in the States enjoyed a good 4th of July, safe, and enjoyed some time together and some celebration, and got to blow up things. That's what we do around here. We spend a lot of money blowing stuff up. That's kind of ironic, but it is what it is, right? I'm going to jump right into our discussion, interview with Mike Sherman from Sherman Farms in Ashland, Missouri. And I love the fact that Mike has some pig farming in his history. So he tells us a little bit about his grandfather raising confinement hogs and how he transitioned over into pastured hogs. So I'm not going to give any more away. We're going to jump right into that, and I'll catch you guys on the back of the interview.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. How are things in Missouri right now?
Well, we're a little muddy, but starting to dry out.
All right, yeah. Did you guys have much of a winter this year, or was it mild?
Snow-wise, we didn't have much, but I think for about 2 weeks, we were the coldest place in the world.
Isn't it great living in the central part of the country?
Yeah.
You know?
I think we were in the negative teens, and it was like 38 in Alaska that week.
Yeah, perfect. Oh yeah. So you guys got what punched Texas in the face, pretty much. It sounds like then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nasty stuff. Yeah, we missed that one somehow. That when that started coming east, it hooked back up and went north of us. So we dodged a bullet there. But all right, well, tell me a little bit about Sherman Farms. Give me the 40,000 foot elevation of what you got going on there.
Well, my family has farmed, various things over the years, and we currently have a 45-acre farm that I'm lucky enough to live on, and we raise pigs, and we've got some laying hens, and we've got some cattle that we do, and we are, we've been conventional for a long time. I'm just getting into the pigs. It's kind of my project. But we've been, just raising cattle and taking them to the market, and we're trying to move more now to farm to table, selling, direct to consumer versus fluctuation in the market. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, good strategy there. So you said family farm. Tell me a little bit about that. Is this 2 generations, 3 generations, 10 generations? How long is this farm in the name?
This particular farm is my dad's farm. And I think this would be, 1, 2. I would be the 4th generation on that farm. But on my mom's side, I think we're like the 8th generation farmers.
Oh yeah, excellent. All from Missouri, I assume, or that area?
My dad is, and then my mom actually grew up in southeast Iowa. My grandpa farmed. It was in the thousands of acres when him and my uncle were in their prime. They did row crops. They did a farrowing confinement operation when that was when everybody said that was the way to go.
Yeah. They do a little bit of farming up there in East Iowa, I think. All right, so it's interesting. I want to talk before we get into the setup, the details of your setup. It's interesting there. Let's talk a little bit about generational farming. Confinement hog operation. I think in your pre-screening information showed that your grandfather was doing some of that. So how did you in 2 generations transition? Are you getting any heat from that, or is the extended family seeing value in what you're trying to do there?
Well, sadly, Grandpa he passed away in 2007.
Okay.
He'd been out of the hogs for years when the market fell out. I'm not sure what year that was. And what I remember when I was a kid, one of my vivid memories from being very little at his farm was sitting on the D17 with the grinder hooked to feeding the hogs. But My mom kind of took a break from farming, and then she got married and remarried and inherited inherited the 45 acres we've got now. And now, me being wanting to get back into it, I think I've kind of sparked some of her. I'm definitely sparking some of her childhood memories with pigs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she grew up, going to school and coming home and going straight into the farrowing barn. So I'm making her dig up old memories and asking her questions all the time.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah, I also got a cousin that they raise show pigs and show cattle, so they've been a wealth of knowledge. But yeah, everybody's pretty interested in how this pasture raising turns out and supportive. And
so how long have you been on the 45 acres?
I've lived there for 3 years. We've owned it for like 10.
Okay. So with that being in the family for a couple generations and obviously set up as more of a conventional farming, what type of infrastructure comes with it? Sounds like there's a house that you're living in. Did you have a barn? Did you have any other large buildings there? Any type of infrastructure like that?
Not really. We've got a hay shed and a couple little sheds that are kind of more for storage and parking tractors, lean-tos. But there is a little pond that I've got set up in a paddock, and then other than that, to be real honest, the people that had it, my grandfather from my dad's side had it before, so didn't really take care of it that well in his later years. He let it grow up to cedar trees and stuff. So
gotcha.
We've been using some Joe Salatin methods with haying in certain places, and I'm going to turn the pigs on the areas we fed in this winter. We're going to turn them out there this summer and let them turn that over and get us some dirt going.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like maybe running cattle prior to and just now getting into the hogs.
Yeah, we've had cattle on there as long as I can remember, but this will be my second year with the pigs.
Okay, all right, good deal. So why pigs? Why did you look? Why did you look at this? Okay, cattle been working out well. Now it's time to bring on pigs. What was the motivation for that?
Well, when we built our house, we had to have the county ordinance was we had to have 3 acres to build it on, and with where we had to put our lagoon, it kind of left us with about a half an acre south of the house that wasn't being used, and I hate to let land sit there and be just barren. So I initially had thought, let's get a couple of goats for the kids and ask a buddy that used to raise goats what his experience was with it, and he was very adamant, do not get goats because they're out all the time and you're fighting parasites with them. And he said, well, why don't you get a couple pigs? And then I started looking at the pigs and found pasture pigs, and then it spiraled out of control from there.
Yeah, right. So what did you start with? Did you just find somebody local? Did you go ahead and go with a specific breed you're looking for from your research, or how did you stick your toe
I went with Berkshires.
Okay.
And I had a really hard time finding them, finding pures. I could find crosses, but I wanted to go with pure Berkshires first. And ended up finding a guy finally about 20 miles north of here that had some, and I got two for us, and one for us and one for the folks, and then I figured I would just get 2 more and try to sell them. And I no more than got them home, and sent out a Snapchat of them because I was kind of excited, and had all 4 of them sold. I went back and bought the rest of everything he had, and within 12 hours I had those sold again.
Yeah, wow.
So that was that was April of last year, so it was right when COVID.
Oh yeah, that was good timing. Everybody was looking to stock up around that time, so
yep,
worked out well. Okay, so looking at that Berkshire, what in your research jumped out at you that said you wanted to go with that?
I just kept running across a lot of things that were really saying that the meat was high quality, and it's not something. I'd never had a heritage breed, pork chop or anything. So a lot of things were saying that was the best one. So that's what I decided to try first.
Yeah. Well, since you sold everything, have you tried any of your own pork chops yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was gonna say, that's
very happy.
That's why I always tell people I don't stand out in the mud in the middle of the winter not to have bacon all the time. So you got to make sure you keep some of it back for yourself. All right. Well, let's look at let's talk a little bit about your setup. So it sounds like you've got a half acre right now that you grew out that first that first group on. Are you expanding that? Are you still keeping them on that half acre this year, or where are you right now in that?
I was very afraid of pigs getting out, and I'd seen people raising them with electric fence, and I was awful timid to try that first. So what I did is I took a woven wire fence and I fenced the half acre off, and then I ran electric around the bottom of that. So it worked great for the first set of pigs, but now I've decided to farrow my own, and that's kind of my winter sacrifice area, farrowing area, because it's the most secure. And then I've got electric fence paddock set up to where I can rotate the pigs around the rest of the farm after that. So.
Okay, so you're expanding there, utilizing that as sacrificial and farrowing, and then just are you using polywire, using single strand, high tensile? What's your setup with your fence there?
I'm using a double strand of high tensile wire. I tried the polywire first, and I kept having troubles with the little micro wires in there breaking.
Yeah.
Losing its juice down the road. So.
Yeah, that's always been my experience with the microwire, especially as much as I move them and as many sticks in the woods that fall on them. It seems like they are much more fragile than the heavier gauge wire.
Yeah, and I'm lucky enough that I don't necessarily have to take my fences down, so I can just put a gap in and leave it up.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps that keeps cows off of it when it's when it's regrowing. So.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, you said that you wanted to start farrowing your own. So, did you keep a boar back? Did you go out and acquire a boar? How have you started putting together your genetic line?
I went and got another set of feeders, and they had a boar that hadn't been cut yet, and so I went ahead and bought him. And then after I after we butchered our last batch of feeders, I went and bought a big gilt from a lady that had good genetics. And a buddy of mine, actually, that had bought one of the feeders from me before, decided he wanted to raise his own, so he was looking for a boar, so that lady ended up having a boar too, so I brought them both home and was like, well, keep them here for a month as a delivery fee, and then took him to his house for where he'd be, his permanent home.
Yeah.
But that was like the first week of February when I brought them home, and I came home Monday night this week to surprise babies.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so that gilt that I had bought was bred when I bought her.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that math doesn't add up. But yeah, so you bought one already seeded then. That's like getting pre-seeded turf.
Yeah.
Good deal. So how many groups have you finished since April of last year when you first got into it?
I've just finished the one, and of course, when they were finished, that was mid pandemic, and feeders were just damn near impossible to get a hold of, and so I bought that mess, and I finally found some. I bought 5 feeders from a guy, brought them home. I lost one of those. I think it was just run of the litter or whatever. And then I bought another Burke from the guy that I got my first set of feeders from. And this was a bottle baby. I was really excited about her because she was just a sweetheart. She would even sit down for a dog biscuit.
Right.
So my plan was to keep her for Sal. And I don't know if the first group I had brought something home, but she got real skinny on me, and figured it wrong and ended up losing her too.
Oh, no.
So that made me really upset, and that's when I just finally said, you know what, I've heard on the podcast about biosecurity, and I'm just going to start farming my own. So
yeah, it adds additional work and additional maintenance and all those type of things, but there is something to be said about having full control over that and really keeping the front door closed when it comes to new genetics or new issues showing up on the property.
Yeah.
All right, so right now, it sounds like you had the surprise gilt that was pregnant, and she's already farrowed. So is that your only piglet you have right now? And then you've got, am I doing my math right? Do you have another gilt that's ready to go soon, or?
No. In that second set of feeders I got 4 Burks, and then I got 2 Duroc Burke crosses, and I was really, really pleased with how those Duroc Burke crosses are growing. So I went and bought another Duroc gilt that I'm going to breed when she gets big enough. So I'll have a strain of pure Burks and a strain of Burke Duroc crosses.
Yeah, I like that. Strategy. I've enjoyed Duroc. They're a little hard on our hillside. I don't have them right now, but I have been impressed with how they finish. So yeah, Duroc Burke would be a good combination there.
Yeah, I think the day after I brought her home, I listened to one of your episodes where you had mentioned that Durocs are kind of crazy. I definitely agreed with that after the next couple of days.
Yeah. They finish great, and I mean, obviously, there's pros and cons of every breed. That's why a lot of people like the different types. But yeah, they did finish well. Well, so what is the plan for this year then? So you've got sounds like you're putting together your genetic lineup. Are you looking at just finishing and selling that surprise litter that you got, or are you going to try to get some breeding stock out of that?
I'm not sure yet on that. I'm still trying to develop my customer base, which I haven't had any troubles with yet. But I don't want to sell myself short and try to get big, too big too quick. So I'm just taking baby steps. But I like doing the holes in half. But I think I am going to try maybe with this batch to keep 1 or 2 to get made up in cuts. And try to do some farmers markets and things like that.
Yeah. Does Missouri have state inspected laws, or is it just USDA or custom cuts?
Yeah, we have state inspected.
Yeah, so you can do that and then stick your toe in the water without too much issue. It sounds like.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where our closest USDA is. I've looked a couple times and haven't had anything close that pop up. I don't think.
Yeah, that's an issue for us here too. We don't have anything USDA close by. So you talked a little bit about your layout. I want to address that some more with your infrastructure. So it sounds like you're putting up high tensile permanent fence with just some gaps that you can move them around. How you taking care of your feed and water situation there?
Well, hopefully there's some beginners listening. I know some people like to ration feed, and I did that the first year with Berkshires, and I think it almost took 11 months to grow them to weight. So I've since put out self feeders, but I don't have the giant ones. I've got the 150-pound ones, and I keep them semi full all the time. That way nobody's going hungry, but I try to keep full. That way they just sit there and gorge themselves. Yeah. So maybe learn from my mistakes. I know there is some good to rationing, because I had a lot. My first batch was a lot more personable, but this batch has grown significantly better, and they're still on plenty of pasture, and they still go out and graze every day and lay in the mud, and they don't stand around the feeder like you would think they would.
Yeah, I gotta say I've got mixed emotions about both. I've done both. I have the big 2-ton drop feeders, and man, it's nice to kind of set and forget, fill that thing up, and a week later come back and address it. But I agree. There's I experienced in our situation, I experienced a lot of waste just because being on the hillside, and it seems like they could always fling it everywhere. And since it was always there, they didn't worry about cleaning up anything off the ground. And The rationing allows you to have that daily contact. And of course, we're now soaking and fermenting our feed, so I've seen some positives from that. But yeah, you're right. If you don't get your ration right, you can end up having a light pig, and then you're digging out of a hole there.
Yeah, and if you've got one that's the boss, then she pushes everybody away, and she gets big, and nobody else does.
Right.
But with these little feeders, I can kind of ration and let them free feed at the same time. So
yeah. See, in our situation with these hillsides, 150-pound feeder it ends up over the hill each evening, just like everything else. They just nose it over. So
for water, I just use the poly barrels with the water nipples on them, and haven't had any trouble using those other than they make a mud hole and flip them over after a couple weeks.
Yeah. So are you just rolling those to your next paddock, or do you have them spaced apart already?
I've got a couple of them, so I just leapfrog them, and I can leave one in one paddock and move it to the next. So.
Yeah. So when it comes time to filling, is that just transporting water with a piece of equipment? Do you have hose? Is the pasture plumbed? What are your?
Luckily, I haven't got far enough away from the house yet that I don't have enough hose to reach it. So that will happen in probably the next month or so.
Oh, sounds like your land is decently flat then, I would assume.
Yes, not anything like you have.
Yeah, that makes me jealous. You flatlanders, you guys, you flaunt all of your acreage close to your house like that. So, no, that's good. That's great. That's one of those things where you're setting it up that you take all that into consideration, and man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, drag a hose until your hose breaks, and then go get you another one. Yeah, I
don't leave it out there where they can get a hold of it, because they've already torn one up on me. So.
Right. Yes, they've. Seems like they'll chew up anything that you leave laying out or drop. I dropped a carpenter pencil once, and they just devoured it before I got a chance to get it.
Yeah, I've got a pair of blue shoes, and they try to eat them every time I'm out there with them.
All right. Well, so let's talk about a little bit about this year with your new genetics. So you've got your Duroc, you've got your Berkshire. You talked about maybe finishing out, maybe doing some cuts. What do you think in the first year, or actually into the second year? What do you think your herd size is going to be? How many head do you want to have on the farm at any given time right now?
I think my max right now, with how everything is in life, but I wouldn't want to go over maybe 35 or 40.
Yeah, and it sounds like your approach to that, obviously you weigh that with your customer base. That way you don't have end of a grow out season and you're stuck with a bunch of hogs because you don't have a customer base established yet.
Yeah, and the butchers around here are still hard to get in.
Yeah.
Which is not as bad as it was a couple months ago, but still you got to call and got to play by their dates. Can't get the date that you want, so.
Yeah, that we're seeing that still from almost everyone I talk to. There's still that issue across the country of booking 6 to 8 to 9 months in advance. Yeah, even booking something and hadn't even hit the ground yet is always tricky to do. So you talked about feed a little bit. What are you approaching as far as feed ration goes and feed source, feed type? Are you just going with conventional right now, or you got plans to do anything different?
Just conventional. I've thought about organic, but I don't know that I can get it anywhere close. And so far, no customers have really wanted that. They think the pasture thing is just great. So definitely something I'm willing to look into, but I've got to kind of see what the market is for it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and one question that pops in my head, and I know I don't ask it a lot on the podcast. You Flatlanders have more options, but looking at storage. So how are you handling that right now? So are you buying feed in bulk? Are you buying just what you need for a week or so? Or do you have substantial storage options on farm?
I have been running to the feed store on Saturday mornings just because it's kind of nice for a little Saturday morning drive. Yeah. Buying bag feed, but I recently purchased a feed wagon and got that. I haven't got quite got it going yet, but I'm going to have them deliver, bulk feed to that. So
yeah.
Getting to the point where it's getting too many bags a week to deal with.
Yeah. The older it gets, get, the less I want to throw around 100-pound feed sacks all the time.
But as far as storage for anybody listening that wants to try it out, I used a 55-gallon barrel with a lid.
Yeah.
Well over a year, and I have a friend that uses an old chest-style deep freeze.
Yeah, and those are the type of things that work great for the smaller herd sizes and things. And you know, again, it's one of those deals like people have been using them for decades. You know, why change it? So when my number of head increases, and you look at storage where you've got maybe 6,000 pounds at a time that you want to try to store, then that's where it becomes a little bit of a challenge. I've been considering a shipping container, something that would be rodent-proof and obviously weatherproof, but don't have the luxury of the silo options around here, and it really wouldn't work well in our topography.
Yeah.
All right, so you talked a little bit about you're selling wholes and halves and building your customer base. So your first round, it sounded like maybe just friends and family were your first buyers. What are you doing now strategically to try to acquire new customers?
Well, I've got a Facebook page and haven't really been super active on it, but I just try to post pictures on my personal Facebook and of the pigs, and they're not in a giant mud hole all the time. They're not on concrete. They're not stacked on top of each other. They're always out in the pasture, and I've actually gained quite a few customers just by doing that, because they can see how happy the pig actually is, and that how it's actually raised. So that just doing that and word of mouth has worked really well so far.
Yeah, and that's where it all starts, is just getting the recommendations and people passing it on, letting you know that you got a good product there. Do you find that is there much pastured pig operations around you? Is it kind of a pig desert when it comes to that?
There's no other pastured pig around or close to me that I know of.
Yeah.
I actually have gotten 2 people started on it.
Right. Yeah.
So might take some of my market share, but I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, 2-3 other farmers, that's something you guys can work in conjunction more so than competition, especially if you've got a decent demographic of people around you. It'll take you a long time to saturate that market.
Yeah.
So, Mike, looking forward beyond next year, what would you say if you had to forecast like a 5-year plan? Where do you see this going as far as pastured pigs in general, or your entire farm operation?
Well, there's been some slight talk about relocating. We do live in an area that is highly sought after land-wise, so we could move 5 miles down the road to a different county and double our land. So it's been a talk in the family, but with the pigs and the cattle, we're definitely trying to move toward getting everything farm to table, selling direct to the consumer, and having an established customer base. I've got repeat customers already, so that's kind of nice, and they're now beginning to tell their friends and family. So just trying to expand and grow at a slow pace.
Yeah. So you talked about at the beginning there. You talked about the pigs were kind of your thing. So do you have extended family that's helping you right now on the farm? They're managing other aspects of the farm.
My parents do. I mean, they don't live on the farm, but they live 5 miles away, and I've got 3 daughters, so they're out there interacting with them all the time. So it's just the pigs are my deal, but everybody kind of helps, which they don't require a whole lot of help sometimes, but getting them loaded and getting them sorted, you know how that goes.
Yeah, it's always a fun task. People love to be around me when it's that day.
Yeah. Loading pigs is a lot calmer than loading cattle, I can tell you that.
Yeah. I've only helped people a couple times load cattle, and I'm actually makes me thankful that I load pigs. I kind of like the idea that the animal I'm trying to push around is shorter than my waist. When I start to stare them eye to eye, that makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, loading pig. There's a lot more laughter, and I would say loading cattle is a lot more not kid friendly.
Indeed. All right. So when you're talking about possibly selling out and moving to another county so you could maximize your dollars there for acreage, so getting I assume the parents are part of that decision as far as making that move, because they would of course you continue to help with the operation in that other county as well.
Yeah, that was actually my mom's idea. So not something that we've sat down as a family and fully decided yet, but it's something that's definitely up in the air, and definitely a likely possibility.
Yeah, so you mentioned the wife and the 3 kids, the 3 girls there. Are you currently working a day job? Do you see this as something you would want to do full time at some point, or is it always just going to kind of be a hobby side?
Yeah, I'm actually an equipment operator, so I work probably 50 to 60 hours a week.
Oh yeah.
And then it's definitely something I would like to do. Maybe not as a full income, but maybe not have to work as much, and maybe have the winters off. And you had made the joke about what was it? Successful farmer has a wife in healthcare or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine's been begging me to get her nursing license for the last 2 years. So
there you
definitely
go.
something that's could be a possibility down the road.
Yeah, that's always a good farmer plan B, is a wife with a nursing degree. Yeah, no, that's good. Wow, equipment operator, man, that's a full day's work, and then coming home and taking care of your livestock, that'll make you old quick.
Yes, it will. Actually, the night that I came home to pigs, we had Grandma wanted the kids for the evening, so we were going to finish working on the chicken coop and cook herself a nice dinner and actually sit down and watch a TV show for once, and that went out the door quick.
Yes, best laid plans. That's how it goes on the farm, definitely.
Yep.
All right, Mike. Well, a question that I ask everyone, as you're familiar with, if you've listened to the podcast, as we close up here, is what is your best experience or favorite part about raising pigs on pasture?
Actually, I knew you were going to ask that, so I've been thinking about it.
All right, good.
I've got 2 things. One is just the community, like people in the area that are, raising pigs. They're not necessarily, pasturing them or whatever, but they're always just so happy to help you. And, there's a couple people around that are maybe 2 hours away from me that could still technically be in the same customer base, but, always wanting to offer advice. I've had people offer to come out and kind of show us how to castrate, because my mom hasn't done that in years, and we can watch all the YouTube videos in the world we want. But it's nice that even your competitor is willing to lend you a helping hand.
Yeah, good deal.
But the other thing is just watching the pigs grow and their personalities. And right now I've got them in a paddock that's got a big pile of old manure in it, and I swear sometimes I look out the window and they're playing King of the Hill on that thing, and they just get the zoomies and get to running around, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, man, that is so funny you say that, because actually where I'm sitting right now recording this, I can look out across the valley and see one of the woodlot pastures where I have the pigs. And I kid you not, I was here working the other day, and they were doing that exact thing, because there's a steep slope. It used to be an old log skidding section, actually, where they roll the logs down to load them onto the truck. So it's a very steep grade, but it's all clear. And they were literally doing King of the Hill, knocking each other over. And one came down and bull rushed the other one right in the side and knocked it. And that thing probably rolled 6 times before it could get stopped. And I just sit there and watch them. They are hilarious to watch when they get goofy like that.
Oh yeah, they definitely do that. I was watching them one day, and one of my Duroc crosses was just rolling some of the other ones down the pile, and they'd get right back up and do it again. It was just fun to watch. Can't ever get it on video when they do it, but
right.
For some reason I'm the one that catches them do it all the time. Nobody else has seen it yet.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Nobody believes me that they're out there playing. Right. Definitely. Well, Mike, if people want to find out more about Sherman Farms, where can they find you online?
Right now, just on Facebook at Sherman Farms.
Okay. I'll be sure to drop that into the show notes so you guys can check that out. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with me this evening. I pray things dry out in Missouri and all goes well for you.
All righty. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, you take care. Well, all right. Well, I appreciate Mike coming on the podcast and sharing his experience with us. I pray you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Well, there's not much going on around the farm. Who am I kidding? Everything's going on. It's typical summertime, right? I think I mentioned and teased in the last episode that we're on the downhill side of summer. So soon the leaves will turn, the snow will start blowing, and then we'll deal with all kinds of different things, right? Same old story, just different environment in the process. All right, before I wrap up, I just wanted to say quickly, give a shout out again about Patreon. I appreciate you guys that have supported. Seems like each month we get 1 or 2 additional supporters. I appreciate that, and it really means a lot to me. And I've got some great plans. One of the things that's really stuck out to me, and I think I have it higher up on our tier, and maybe we have to move that down. I just got to see if it makes sense cost-wise, because there is a specific cost associated with it. And that is getting written transcripts, not written, obviously, typed transcripts of every podcast episode we have. And the reason why that's important, you may think, well, Troy, that's kind of dumb. Why in the world did you mess with that? Well, you would be amazed the amount of you listeners that reach out to me and say, hey, you had that guy on that one time that was doing this and was doing that with Berkshire, or was doing this with a certain type of water or farrowing structure or something. Can you tell me what episode that was? And I'm like, I got no idea. We've done, almost 70 interviews now. So it's tough for me to keep them straight. I have my notes, but my notes, of course, aren't copious to the point of being that detailed. But in my research, I've realized that there are transcription services we can use where hopefully they can discern my Appalachian drawl and the some of the audio issues we have. But how cool would it be to have all the discussion in a transcript form that would become searchable? So the way we would construct the Pastured Pig Podcast website when we're ready to pull the trigger on that is we would have those episodes presented where you could listen to them there, obviously, but then also have their full transcripts, which would be searchable. So that would allow you to go to the website, search some key keywords. That's redundant. Some keywords there, and hopefully be able to find some of that information from episodes in the past. So that's just one of the things I'd like to do and kind of build a library there of our discussions. And then we can even possibly pull out tags. I got to say the nerdery side of my marketing business, we can go in and start looking at using those written transcripts. We can be able to start indexing the words, and the words that we say quite a bit can then even become tags. So we can start tagging those things and making them even more searchable. But that's just one of the many things I hope to add, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, and obviously we can justify the expense. But be sure to check out Patreon. Again, appreciate the support of those that have jumped in early and have supported even when there wasn't much to offer. And now we've got some bonus episodes out there. We've got a couple more teed up and ready to go here soon, and some additional things I'm trying to bring to the list there. So I appreciate everyone's support and appreciate everyone listening. Well, I pray you all have a great evening. Take care.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Pastured Pig Podcast. To learn more about our podcast, or to submit topics or recommend guests for future episodes, visit redtoolhouse.com.